Hey, City Center Baptist Church family, this is Pastor Brad coming to you from DDQ headquarters. Digging Deeper question number 3 this week asks, why is faked spirituality so reprehensible in the sight of God? Fake it until you make it might be an effective strategy for covering up my ignorance of a subject or lack of experience or skills, but it usually gets exposed in the long term. I may not want to reveal that I'm uneducated or inexperienced so that I get passed by. It's a cover-up for something deeper and exposes my insecurities and deficiencies. There's nothing wrong with trying to learn something on the spot or asking for assistance to get something started, but when we're addressing the spiritual dimension of life, it's a different story. Some of the religious leaders of Jesus' day may have developed godly hearts and attitudes through their study of the law. But the tragedy for most was an arrogant attitude towards spirituality, fostered by do-it-yourself law-keeping and religious performance. God was left on the sidelines while they worked at perfecting themselves by keeping all the commands. Those who failed or didn't bother trying were disregarded and discarded. They basically tried to be their own saviors. It was doomed to fail. Jesus made it clear that practicing our righteousness before other people is odious. He called these kinds of people hypocrites. To be seen by people is to be overlooked by God. He isn't impressed with faked religious spirituality. He knows our hearts. He is looking for reality in religious activity. Jesus had to shock the religious leaders by using the strongest wording possible to point out the obnoxious nature of feigned spirituality. He calls such practitioners whitewashed tombs, blind guides, and fools in Matthew 23. They look good on the outside, but were rotten to the core on the inside. Ultimately, the religious leaders had a choice to make: recognize their sin, repent, and follow Jesus, or they could reject him. They chose the latter option and eventually had him crucified, transgressing the very law they tried to uphold. They ended up killing God. Nothing could be so reprehensible. But our danger is to point at them in shock and outrage. Yet we must realize that their story is told as a warning to us. We must identify with them, with their tendency to do-it-yourself religious observances and to trust their own efforts to make themselves righteous before God. This is an impossible task. When we come to that realization, we are on the verge of shifting our reliance on me to the Lord. Only then will we no longer try to earn God's favor by religious performance. He will give us his favor when we trust him alone. It's called grace, and it's only offered in Jesus. This has been Pastor Brad coming to you from DDQ headquarters.